Hello, my name is El Magdaleno. I am a junior and a Sports Med 3 student here at South Tahoe High School. And for my Unit 5 project, I did medical journal research about eating disorders. First, what is an eating disorder? An eating disorder is a behavioral condition that can be caused by severe and persistent disturbance in eating behaviors through emotion and thoughts. It can affect physical health, psychological health, and how one might function in society or in big groups. There are many different types of eating disorders, but there are five main ones. First is anorexia and or also called anorexia nervosa. This is when one might eat little amounts of food or may not eat at all. Anorexia and anorexia nervosa are very similar but have a slight difference to them. So anorexia is when a person has a loss of appetite or the inability to eat. And anorexia nervosa is when a person purposely limits their food intake. Next is bulimia. This is when one might eat and then throw it up afterwards, which causes them not to get the right amount of nutrients, vitamins, and minerals that they need, so it's hard for them to have like a lot of energy and stuff. Next is binge eating. This is when one might eat a large amount of food, but in a very short period of time. In some cases, one might try to hide the fact that they're eating an excessive amount of food because they're ashamed of it or they just don't want people to know, really. Next is pica. So this is when a person compulsively swallows non-food items and or eats things with no nutritional value at all. Next is rumination. So this is when food is brought back up from the stomach. And they don't do this on purpose per se, but it happens to some people if they get like sick off of certain foods, and you can get diagnosed with it if it happens multiple times in a short amount of time. Like if it happens multiple times in like a week span or a month span or something. Now moving on to development. So how can an eating disorder develop? Well, an eating disorder can develop because of genetics. So if a previous family member had it, you can be 7 to 12 times more likely to develop one yourself. And this is just due to a chromosome mutation. Next is getting one due to trauma. So 75% of eating disorders are linked to some type of trauma. Sports is also a big one. This is because athletes are trying to get stronger and or try and get to a certain weight so they can perform better. And whether they are trying to gain weight or lose weight, they might try to change their daily diet and can eventually create bad eating habits, causing them to create an eating disorder for themselves. 66% of women and 33% of men create eating disorders because of their sport. The last one is a big one, which is just society and or social media. This affects us because our generation is always on our devices, and when we see things that we want, people put themselves through a lot to get that thing. This could be an object, an experience, or in this case, a healthy lifestyle that some try to achieve in an unhealthy way. And because of social media and social standards, 44% of teenage girls believed they were overweight, and 66 were attempting to lose weight. Women want to be thin, and men want to be big and strong, and social media doesn't help make sure that we're doing these things in a healthy way. Next, I'm going to talk about some of the long-term effects of eating disorders. So, first is a very big one. It's cardiovascular. So, when the body is starved, it breaks down fat and muscle for fuel. And this can eventually cause heart problems and cardiovascular problems because you're not getting the nutrients that you need, causing you to have less energy. Next is just brain function. So if the brain lacks the nutrients to operate, it starts to lack the energy to function, and it can cause fatigue. Next is infertility. So if you do have an eating disorder or you're not eating the proper nutrition, you're not getting the proper nutrients that you need, it can lower the possibility to reproduce because of organ damage and lack of nutrients. Next is just your digestive system. So a lack of appetite can lead to dramatic weight loss and or weight gain, which can lead to just having an upset stomach on a daily basis. Next is insomnia. So because the body wants to get up and have energy, so it gets hard for people to sleep because they didn't really have that much energy throughout the day. Next is multi-organ failure. So this is because when there's damage to the organ structure, it also causes a drop in internal body temperature and making you feel cold all the time. Again, because you're not getting the nutrition that you need and your body is just trying to find any sort of energy it can take to keep you alive and keep you still breathing. Oh. So there are only so many ways that one can take care of an eating disorder. So first, if you go to the doctor and your doctor suspects something, they will likely perform exams and pinpoint a diagnosis and try and get you help. But if not that, there is also the possibility of, if you have like your primary care provider, if they notice something is going on, they can bring you in and a mental health professional can make a diagnosis. There's also the possibility, if it gets really bad, of going to rehab and or seeking professional help if needed. And down below there are options to get help. So there is a website down below that you can visit. So you can get help for someone and see treatment options if an eating disorder is something you, a friend, or a loved one is struggling with. Thank you. Questions, comments?